Hello and welcome to today's Student CPD session on motivation. This video complements a lot of the other things that we've been looking at in terms of creating a revision timetable, staying focused, looking after yourself, and I imagine a lot of the things around mindfulness as well. Now, there are always different reasons that you are doing something, and usually it's the reason or the reward at the end of an idea or a project that drives you to keep with it. Today, I'm going to be looking at different ways that you can remind yourself of those prospects, of those ways of thinking about your future goals to make sure that you stay on task and stay focused. This guy was called Mr. Motivator. I think his real name is Derek, which is fairly different from the image that you get. But he featured on breakfast TV in, I think, probably the early 90s. And he was very, very energetic person, and he would be talking to an audience who presumably was sat at home having their cereal, waiting to go to work. And the enthusiasm that he exuded was supposed to be enough to get you up off of the sofa and engaged in this physical activity fairly early in the morning. His character built over a period of time, and so he's very colourful in terms of his costumes. They don't match, nothing really, it just stands out. And again, always with the bandana that matched the lycra suit, so it was very much brash, but so was his personality, in your face and enthusiastic to a point where it was almost intolerable. The reason that he features here is that I want you to think about who your Mr. Motivator is. Who is it in your life that has seemingly an endless amount of enthusiasm? And how do you get to spend more time with them? Because it's infectious. Much like Mr. Motivator, early morning TV, up, enthusiastic, happy, living this incredibly wonderful, it seemed, life. It made you want to do the same. There's a lot of social theory about who you spend time with and how that influences you. So my first task for you is to think about your friendship circle, your social circle, and who are the people that push you because their enthusiasm is contagious. And maybe think about who are the people that maybe pull at you in a less than helpful fashion, and consider where your time is spent and how you feel after you've spent time with them. That's your first task. So just pause me for a minute while you do that. The next idea is to consider your goal. Again, there is a lot of psychological theory into the benefits of visualization and thinking about your end goal, what you're wanting to achieve, and to have that as a daily reminder. This is why there are so many people who are looking to lose weight. They either put a picture of a slimmer version of themselves that of a weight that you're trying to turn back to, or of a person they want to replicate for themselves, because that visual reminder. So if you imagine your goal is to become a doctor, get a photograph of a doctor and make it a part of your daily contact, so you're very aware of this is where you're going. There are a lot of people that create dream boards or mood boards even for what they want in their future, and having that as a reminder, a visual reminder, can be really useful. The next piece of advice builds on that, and again, this is going to feed in nicely to your second task for today. On the wall in my classroom, at the beginning of each year, I put up the list of universities that my students are wanting to go to. I ask them which university is their first choice, I find the logo of that university, and I make it a part of our display. The reason is, when they're sat in classroom and the inevitable daydreaming happens, as much as I would like you to stay entirely focused on what I'm telling you, the chances are the mind wanders. I want them to look up and see that that's their next stepping stone. The dream board is the ultimate goal, is everything that you want to achieve ultimately. But what you have to recognise is that what you do today leads to tomorrow, to next week, to your next step. And so having that bite-sized realisation of what you're going to achieve is the thing that's helpful. So today it might just be about finishing the lesson and getting something out of it. What have you got out of today's lesson? Because that will lead you to tomorrow. It will prepare you for your next step, which might be university, which is going to help you achieve the ideas and visions that you have on your dream board. So as I said, this was going to feed into your next task, and your next task is to look at university options and pick 3 that you think that you might be interested in. Find their logo, download it, screenshot it, whatever, but make it a part of your file. So if you have a diary, stick it on your diary. If you have a folder for a particular subject, stick it on the front of your particular subject. When you've done that, I want you to think about doing something similar for where you want to be. So what do you want to do after university? And start collecting images that help to visualize that future that you want for yourself. Spend some time doing that, and then maybe it will be really useful to apply the next task to it. So the last piece of advice that I have for you is to follow the arrow. You are always moving forward, and it's about what today helps you to do tomorrow. Whether it's learning a new piece of vocabulary for a foreign language that you're taking, whether it's mastering a scale on a piano or an experiment in science, everything you do moves you forward. Now, in a recent experiment that students and I did, we had to trial the use of technology in a classroom setting under extreme circumstances. The beauty of being involved in that was that it didn't matter if it failed, because it is a lesson learned. So when you're struggling for motivation, when you're struggling to see the reason or the point or why you're doing it, think about that on a small scale. And this, like I said, is your final task. Either consider learning journeys that you've been on, or think about one that you're on now and break it down into minuscule tasks. If you think about how a baby learns to walk, they don't simply stand up, find their balance and move. There's a lot about the fine motor skills, the gross motor skills. A lot is taking place for that baby before they even begin balance. With that in mind, break down a task that you want to achieve. And to be fair, in terms of testing this theory, it could be as far as making a sandwich. Your end goal is to have a satisfying lunch. What you need to do in the process might include things like stand up, walk to the kitchen, open the drawer. As soon as you start to see it's an accumulation of different and small acts, you can value each individual one. It would be incredibly difficult to make a sandwich without moving from the living room to the kitchen, unless, of course, you're going to shout and ask somebody to do it for you. So that's your last task for this presentation. I'll be really curious to see how you get on and think about the steps that you go through on every day that's going to get you to the place that you want to be.